and the whole point is networking. So you might see in a conference or in a schedule where it says networking for 30 minutes. Use that time wisely. Bring your business cards, talk to people, find out where they're from, who do they work with, what are their clientele like. This is going to be a game changer for your business once you actually make those connections. Hey guys, welcome back to Real Estateable, your go-to podcast for raw, real, and relevant information in the real estate world. Today, we are talking about building a referral network, aka Mailbox money.
And we're going to break it all down for you step by step, the easy money. We're working harder than we ever have and really figuring out how can you have a machine that's kind of working for you step by step. We're going to break it all down.
Give it a listen.
All right, so let's break it down. Building relationships. I think we are constantly talking about building relationships with clients, our SOI, people that we're doing life with every day, but we really don't have the conversation often about building relationships with agents, not just in our local areas. Really, the conversation today is going to be building a network across the country, across the world, if there's a need for that. And let's kind of break down how we are making a conscious effort for this.
Yes. So I don't know what sparked this for me, but just learning about making passive income, if you will. So we have clients who are relocating all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. I mean, we are in a military town, but we help clients relocate here for our like industrial area all the time. So why not strategically plan and place yourself in an area of success to be that go-to agent for incoming people and then also outgoing people?
Yeah. And I think that's educating your people too, because I think we talk about even if we have renters, even if we have people that don't actually make a move with us, putting yourself as a source of reference that you can help people make a move, whether it's here in your local area or really anywhere that they're looking to make that happen. So starting that conversation around that, the marketing, the advertising around all of that is really something we should be conscious about moving forward, I think, in our business.
Okay, so step one, I would say, for building a referral network is what we love to do. We love going to conferences. We love going to events. So really connecting with those people that are there. And so I think this event, I mean, we've gone to so many different events over the years. I was talking to Tiffany and I said, I think I'm better at networking without you. Like, we were like,
without your
get
circle
away.
people.
Yeah, I was like, get away from
And it was
me.
awkward because it was like, I don't want to be near you, but we needed to be. I mean, we both have way better conversations and kind of push ourselves out of the bubble and circle and don't lean on each other for that conversation too. So I agree for sure. If you're going to those things, spread your wings, get away from your core group of people. I think so many times that has been the case where you just kind of go with the people you go with and only have the conversations with the people you're going with.
Yeah, and the whole point is networking. So you might see in a conference or in a schedule where it says networking for 30 minutes. Use that time wisely. Bring your business cards, talk to people, find out where they're from, who do they work with, what are their clientele like. This is going to be a game changer for your business once you actually make those connections.
Yeah. And a lot of times when I'm sitting there, because I am super bad, Ashley's going to talk about how she's super good at this, but I'm super bad at the follow up after like the high energy event. So what I've done to kind of change that is I'm like, while I'm sitting there, let's connect on social, because I can make those connections go further by the interactions I can have on social media versus being like, let me take the business card, let me do a follow up, this, that, the other thing, which Ashley will break down as well. But for me, and for those that are like, okay, but really, like, what is that going to do rather other than like, cool, you're from Nashville, but like, when will I actually remember when that time comes for me to place a referral? I think social media is going to be that kind of link that pulls everything together. You can do different steps, but while you're standing there and you're connecting with people and they might have a digital card, they might have just find them on social and connect with them right then. That would be my biggest takeaway from, successfully start the relationship conversation that way.
And that's free. That is free. You don't
Yes,
have to
yeah.
mail anything. You can comment, you can follow up with that person on social for free
Mhm.
as often as you want. It
Yeah,
doesn't have to necessarily be a planned, like, quarterly thing. You can say, "Oh, they're on my feed. What a cute house. What a, look
yeah.
at your family," whatever they're posting for free.
Yeah, for sure. So, what are some of the things that you do besides handing a business card across or doing a digital business card exchange? What are some of the other things that you do besides social business cards and to kind of start this conversation of passing referrals?
So, the last event we went to, the speaker in the front was like, "Hey, you, did you make a post about this event?" And he's like, "Yes." And he said, "Everybody go search for this agent on his page and everybody comment like how excited you are to be here." Well, then he said, "Okay, now that you guys are commenting, everybody go to each other's page and follow." So we all grew our following that way, building that referral network, because once you see all the comments, you can see where each person is from. So that's a good way to follow up on social. For me, this time I took it a step further, and once we got back from the conference, I had some cards that were printed previously that I was going to use to hand out at a conference, but I think my strategy this time was I had those left over and I said, I'm going to go back to that post and I'm going to mail all of these referral cards to these agents. So I basically stalked all of them and found where they work and sent them a referral card. I used some post its and I just put, hope you had a great time at the event. And then I wrote my name just to take it. So they're not like,
Just a
who's this?
pre-printed card. Yeah, just
Like,
tying it
who's this
together.
chick? Why
Hmm.
is she sending me a referral card? So they know that I was at the same conference and I'm being intentional following up with them. Like, I'm your girl for Tennessee or Kentucky.
Yeah. And I think that we have done this a couple different ways before. So those cards that Ashley's referring to were you had a headshot picture. It's basically like a blown up version of a business card. We included we've done two different ways. We've done buttons on these before, our logo for our company buttons, but then we've also done little stickers, like water bottle stickers that say everything I've touched turns to sold. So we've done it a couple different ways. But doing that where you're dropping that into the mail, we've also done the night, like as we're night recapping at the conventions that we've been to, where we've written out the cards or addressed out the cards there and mailed them from the actual event. Because you come back into the busyness of things, and those conventions, just like your to do, it kind of is like, okay, I have so many other things to actually manage. So maybe buttoning up a convention and doing all of the interactions on social media and mailing all of that stuff out, you're intentionally bringing that stuff with you to make sure that you're successful in actually implementing that too.
Yeah, this time I brought the cards to write out and then I said, I'm just going to send the referral card and I offered a 30% referral because you want to make it enticing. Like, wait, hey, what was that girl's name that's offering the 30%? So they're not having to search for me later. I am going to take this a step further and follow up with these people quarterly.
Mm,
Just maybe my next touch will be a handwritten note. I have their addresses saved in my Avery account that I printed my labels in. So I'm not going to have to search for their addresses. Like, it was a lot of legwork at the beginning, but now, boom, set. And I'm going to follow up with these people quarterly.
Well, and that's what I was going to say too, creating a system because like, okay, when it comes down to it, how are you going to remember when you're sending someone, to Denver, Colorado, who is that person? So what system, what spreadsheet, what CRM, what, labels, any of those things, what are you doing? And then I like what Ashley just said too, is that, okay, you market to your SOI, your people, probably every month in a different angle. Doing this quarterly should be a no-brainer part of your marketing budget for sure. So be thinking about it that way too, is like, cool, I've done all of this work, a one touch, but how are they actually going to remember? And then how am I going to remember to be actually giving that business back to them when it comes time to be searching for someone in Denver, Colorado, Los Angeles, California,
Mhm.
wherever.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about how to find different agents to refer business to or get business from a little bit later. But the other thing too is when you're interacting on social and you're constantly seeing these people, it's not a bad idea to also maybe use a market update maybe a newsletter if you can get their email, or maybe even just a postcard that's telling other agents about your market. Like, what's your average price
Mm,
per square foot? What are homes selling for? You should be already sending information like this to your clients, maybe in a monthly newsletter or a postcard. So you already have the data. Why not send that to another agent who's not familiar with your market?
yeah. I think anything that you're applying to your clients is a really great idea when you're talking about like just create an idea that these agents are technically your clients, and you're building that same rapport that you would be with actual buyers and sellers.
Yeah, and you're not being spammy. I think if you
Yeah.
do it like once a quarter and then also continuously follow up with them on social, you're not coming off as, hey, give me business. Here I am again. And it's something that they later just throw away all the time. They're going to say, hey, this girl knows her market. She knows what she's doing and she's being consistent. And I think that that's what I look for when I'm looking for a referral partner is, do you know your market? Are you going to be consistent enough to follow up with the people I'm sending you? Or is it going to just be you put them on a drip campaign and
Mm, yeah.
goodbye
Yeah.
kind of thing?
No, I agree too. Another idea too is as you're doing these different things, we had one of our referral partners in New York just yesterday started posting like, "Hey, are you thinking about moving? Here's all the connections that I have." So making sure that you're pulling them into your marketing, like, thinking about moving to the beach. Here's, a really great option for down in the panhandle. Are you thinking about moving, to the country? Here's a really great option for out in the Midwest. Looking at Dallas, Texas, and actually plugging those agents into your social media. I thought that was a really creative way to be like, okay, yes, you're creating that the noise that you are a referral person for your clients to be coming to get information, but then also you're like, hey, don't forget me. I'm plugging you over there, but don't forget me. I'm your go-to agent for this location. I thought
Yeah.
that was a twofold without being salesy.
Yeah.
A really good concept too.
And you can tag those agents
Mm-hmm.
and get to their sphere and
Yep.
just kind of you know grow on social, build a trust and relationship. Boom, you're
Yeah.
golden.
Yeah. Because we shared that. He was like plugging us, and we shared likewise. Not that anyone is trying to move to New York. At least I am. I'm not.
I'm not.
Not trying to do that. But if we were, we have an awesome agent for you, for sure, for sure. So we're dual license agents, and that's not super common where we're at. We're right on the border of Tennessee and Kentucky, and we have been licensed in Kentucky for a while. People getting on that train a little bit late, but then even if we look at people who are, we're an hour plus or minus north of Nashville, none of those agents down there are dual license. So let's talk about the concept of this in our local market and how you think that that could be beneficial for someone that might be in a dual license type of area, but maybe not. Maybe ones that will just travel a further distance. Talk about that.
Yeah, so I mean, going to even smaller, more local events, you can look at different. Like for me, I can look for an event in Nashville, go to it, make some connections with agents who, like you said, aren't really willing to drive to Kentucky. But now I have a referral base that's they're in my state, but they're not licensed in a state that I'm licensed in. So it kind of works out. So even though I have to drive, an hour to Nashville, I'm making those connections and I'm making that mailbox money.
Yeah. And I think that this, even if you're not on the border of a state, even if it's not, I know so many agents that will only work in a small bubble. So going a few cities over, maybe you're not going, more than a day trip to an event. Look at neighboring associations and pulling people, people move counties over, but agents don't necessarily travel that way. So be looking at that as well as like, okay, where can I go a couple cities over, have the referral network, but not actually have the time, the travel, etc. Just make a longer day of it. So it's a really good point. Unique to us specifically for Kentucky license, but even still, those overflow from Nashville, some of those agents are just not going to make the drive, and I don't blame them.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, if you're new and you have
Hmm.
the time to drive, like, I know we interviewed Q and he was like, I don't go out of my hour radius.
Hmm.
And I feel like once you start getting more business, that's kind of how your mentality just naturally shifts where you're like, I can't drive 2 hours to this house, maybe somebody who, but you don't want to lose that client, but that's 4 hours just commuting. So giving an opportunity to someone in that local market, or maybe someone who's new in your office, would jump on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree on that too. Okay, so we talked about where, etc. We didn't talk specifically on events, but I want to talk specifically on the event type. So we have gone anywhere from a smaller, local, maybe 100-person convention conference type of thing, all the way up to thousands of people with our company's international convention every year. I'm sure if you're with a franchise, you're doing the same thing. It's awesome, high energy, really hard to make very consistent connections. And when I say consistent, I don't think that there is people that I see from those events year after year. It is different people every single time. So it's, unless you're actually making an effort to make a sit down connection with somebody, you're probably not running across them during those events. So one of our favorite things, kind of the bread and butter, is smaller type conventions. So what Ashley was referring to, the one we just came back from, less than 150 people. If we go back to it again, we're going to start to recognize those people, be able to build the relationships, connected with all of them on social media since we've left. I'm starting to get to know them, to get to know their areas. Hopefully they're seeing the same on my social as well. And then we've also done like the higher award winning conventions that are smaller amounts, like less than 500 people. And I'm starting to see in those events, as we're going to different things, the same people over and over again. And it's like, hey, there's Ashley. Hey, that's Tiffany. Being able to have those in-person connections, and then also using them kind of like the web with our client to be like, okay, when they think about a Nashville agent and they're hearing from another agent saying, I have a client that's moving to Nashville area, are they thinking about Tiffany and Ashley? Are they the ones that are plugging this for you? Making sure that you're in events that are small enough, intimate enough to be able to make that happen. Those are our favorite. I really feel like that's just grown to be our thing.
Yeah, I like what you said about following them on social, and then next year when we see them, we're going to be like, "Hey, oh my gosh, how, you're going to know something
Mm-hmm.
about them, so that the conversation isn't like, "Hi, I'm Ashley from Tennessee. Who are you?"
Yeah.
Like nervous, and you have that connection now. Maybe even if you didn't talk to that person at the convention, you have that connection.
Yeah. I think so too. Like I think about like a lot of the friendships I've grown over the years, like even with just like the different regions of our company, those people just like really, I don't know, social media is such a powerful thing to learn. And I think that that has kind of charged me with being organic in the way that I'm coming across, because I want people to learn who I am as an agent, as a person, just like I'm getting to learn other people too. So just as you're thinking of this and like the type of event, don't feel like, oh, there's only 50 people there, there's only 100 people there. Like that's not enough connections, so it's not worth it.
That's the best.
Literally literally the best. So be thinking of it that way too. We have learned that just by trial and error. Jared James Advance is another one that's grown over the years, where we know those people, like those people are coming back and being like, oh, hey Tiffany, that kind of thing. So be thinking about it that way. Smaller is actually really much better.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so let's go to my favorite part, which is nerding out, data, systems, all the things. So if you don't know like where people are coming from to your market, this is going to be a game changer for you. This is going to tell you who's moving to your market, what agents you need to be connecting from, in what cities. So there are two really good websites that you can go to find out this information. Redfin has what's called a migration map that is interactive. So, what you're going to do is type in your city name, and it's going to tell you, it has like little, like not arrows, but you know,
It's like flight paths. It
yeah.
almost looks like an airplane flight path.
Yeah. So, it's going to tell you who's moving to your city and how many are coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can market to the cities that have more people coming from that area to your area, and just making as many connections as you can. I did this a couple months ago where I played around with the map and we had people, most people are moving from California to Tennessee. So there's a couple different cities there that I marketed to. Chicago is one that people are coming to Nashville from. So I typed in those cities. I tried to type in our company, wanted to keep it within our company family, and also reached out to some other brokerages as well, and just sent them that referral card that I was telling you about before. I I did end up sending a couple extra. So
Mm.
like maybe if they have a break room, they can put that on the table, or hey, I got a couple of these, like let me just hand these out kind of situation. So I'm targeting exactly the areas of where people are coming from, and I think that that is just gold in itself.
So you're just doing the cold conversation, like you were just kind of cold mailing, starting the relationship, starting like the
Mhm.
marketing, the quarterly marketing, etc. So you said that was Redfin for their migration
Mhm.
map, and then what's the other website?
Howmoney.walks.com.
Got it. And when we're looking at it, like, okay, so we're in Clarksville, Tennessee. It's the fifth largest city in Tennessee, but it's not a huge one on the map as you're talking nationally. So when you're searching, are you going to be able to find like Clarksville, Tennessee, or you're going to have to find the closest major metropolitan type of area?
Yep, I use Nashville.
Okay. So thinking of that, like, don't be like discouraged. Okay, this doesn't work. You're going to have to find like your closest big city, and be looking to see, okay, who's going around there, and then really being willing to be traveling to that distance, or to that city for that distance, if you're going to be marketing around that. But then from there, you just kind of work backwards to your company, adding into your essentially your SOI of agents for
Mhm.
referral network. That's a really, really good idea. And I think that that is, when you're looking at that, that's a concentrated effort. It's not like just throwing the confetti out everywhere. I think that when we're talking about military, and where we can't track like what military bases are moving mostly to our area, you are kind of throwing confetti because you're going, okay, I know I've helped the most people come from, let's say, like from Fort Hood, which is not even called Fort Hood anymore. These military bases have
I
changed.
know.
So I'm like, I don't know. So going from Fort Carson, I know that one's still the same. So Fort Carson in Colorado, like how often are people actually moving to Fort Campbell? How consistent is that business? And so some of this stuff is just really going to be you having to expand your network like so large that you're just catching as much honey as you can. So this is going to need to be some type of low cost system that you're touching them quarterly. You're getting them on the hook to start with. You're showing value. You're showing knowledge, all of those things that Ashley and I talked about. How are you going to do that in a long-term game? Because when you think about it, mailbox money, that's easy money. That is so easy for that return to be worth it. It's not very much time. It's not very much resources. It's not the gas money. It's not the any of those things of a transaction. When you're talking about, catching those leads that are coming in.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that there's so many different marketing strategies that you can use to follow up with these agents. So I sent the postcard. Again, I have all the address labels, all the names of who I've marketed to, so I can continuously follow up with them. So I might send them a video text or a video email. Hey, just it's Ashley Jankovic. I'm here in your Nashville market, and I'm going to market myself for Nashville because a lot of people who are moving to Nashville will go to Clarksville because it is a little
Mm,
bit cheaper and it's an easy commute. So don't limit yourself on, well, I don't work in that city. Well, you never know where somebody's going to want to actually move. Maybe they don't want to be in the city. Maybe they want to be out in the country, and that's a perfect fit for you. So sending them a video text or an email, postcards are really great. Again, with you can do the market updates and provide that information to that agent, and then also possibly write handwriting cards. Like it
yeah.
doesn't take long to handwrite a card. And I know there's systems out there, programs out there that can take your handwriting and write a card for you. Not as great of a return, I would say, but if you are trying to just really throw that confetti everywhere and it's going to be too time consuming to write all these cards, it's not expensive to have that system write it for you.
Yeah. And so shifting gears to the mailbox money concept, because this is a lot of conversation about the incoming referrals, business and closings, et cetera, for you. So I think one of the big things that you guys need to be remembering is in the mailbox money concept is trying to keep track of the people that you have already referred to, but keeping track of like the conversation as you're sending these referrals, who can you be reciprocating that? I think that a lot of people are more willing to try to catch that business back to you if you've thrown them a couple of bones. So when you're talking about mailbox money, that easy money, etc., you have to have this conversation started with your circle, with your people to say, I can help you no matter where you are. You need to be having your radar on people that are talking about moving, that you're seeing the signs of moving, just like you would if they were in your area. Even if they have moved, they sold with you 5 years ago, but you see now, they're in Illinois now, but it looks like something's happening. They might be moving it again. Or even having that follow-up conversation with them, like, hey, is there anything I can help you with real estate wise? You never know. They might be coming back to you, but they also could be going somewhere that you could easily refer them to. So be thinking about it that way, but keep track of those people that you have already in your pocket where you're not going, you're getting hit with, okay, I need to have 4 different referrals placed this week. And you got to go through and interview a ton of people all at one time to find that good fit. Another thought too is making sure that you're following up through that transaction, you're holding that agent accountable through that transaction, and you're ensuring the promise of care and concern that you've promised your person that's actually being followed through with. And I think that when I look across the board, that has been one of the biggest lessons I've learned over the years is that it's really tough finding someone that's going to care for your people the same way. And I think that has been one of the feedbacks that I've gotten from previous clients. Like, can you just move to Virginia? We just rather do business with you. Or like, oh my gosh, you were in real estate forever. Like, no one is going to communicate and explain and break down things the same way as you. Make sure you're setting those agents up for success and explaining your style, the way you do business, kind of the characteristics of the buyer that you're talking about placing, seller you're talking about placing, and then consistently follow through with that. Like once a week, have it be on your radar where you're going, how's it going with the Joneses family? Is there anything I can do to help with the conversation with the Smiths? Like offering your advice of what made you successful over the years is a huge key to the puzzle of making this successful.
I have 2 referrals out right now, and I feel like they have been the best agents that I've referred to thus far because they are following up with the transaction. Hey, where are you guys at? The Smith family is wanting to make an offer. Is their house here under contract? Is it past inspections? Can you tell me about when the appraisal was ordered? And I have this rapport with them now. So, like, I'm tracking everything that's happening here, and I'm also tracking everything that's happening where they're moving to. And I think that that's really great. But I wanted to touch on, we talked so much about how to find an agent, where to find them, how to contact them. Once you actually have someone who's moving to somewhere, what questions are you asking that agent? How are you qualifying? Because for me, like, I threw the confetti out where I know people are relocating to. I don't actually know those people. I didn't research their Google reviews and all of that for time purposes. That's going to be part of the interview process. But what questions are you asking agents to make sure that they are on your level and are going to take care of your clients?
Well, I think you need to look at the way that you perform business, because I think if there's people that have, successfully done, buying and selling in any type of transaction with you, they're used to the way that you've done business. And a lot of the people that we work with are first time buyers, sellers, etc. And so they only have you. They only have me for an example of what that looks like. So I would start with, okay, what makes you unique? And then explaining to your client, hey, I couldn't find an exact match, but this is the closest person I could come up with. So that's how I would say to start to break it down. But one of the biggest things for me is communication and how we as a team communicate with our clients. And through the entire transaction, our agents are at the forefront. So that is different. That is not how a lot of larger teams actually run their whole transaction process. And that's totally fine. But that's the way that they're used to with me, that they're going to get Tiffany from hi, hello to congratulations, here's your keys and beyond. And if that's not happening with the placement, that's probably not going to go over really well when they're getting passed along through the process for another team. Now, there has been times where I've asked the questions and it's been like, man, but they're still, they're like this team, this program, the way that they run things is still your best choice in the market you're going to, but setting your client up to know like they're not going to have the Tiffany A to Z. They're going to have Tiffany plus 3 other really great people part of that transaction. So looking at that, how do I do it? And then I'm going to ask about communication. So talk to me about what the transaction looks like and how do you communicate, even as a solo agent, how are you communicating, through updates, through conversations, what is your method of communicating, and sit back and let them tell you. Do not put the answer in their mouth. Like you want to hear that they're going to be their A to Z. Just want to know, how does communication run when you're working with a client, before they're under contract, as they're moving to closing? What were some of the questions that you're asking?
Well, I first stalk them on social.
Yeah, right.
Because if your social game sucks, you might suck. Let's be honest. I mean,
that's that. I feel like personally attacked with that.
I'm like personally attacking myself, honestly.
That's why she had to hesitate. She's like, you might suck like me.
Yeah. Don't go to my social right now. It's not very
But
great.
I do think there's a good indication. And then even if it's not like, on fire, on point, you're going to get a good idea. So
yeah,
social.
are you doing real estate, or are you only ever posting about traveling or things like that? Like, are you in real estate? Let's double check your social. Let's see if you've had a closing this year or anything really. But then I'm asking similar questions to you, kind of digging and like asking questions that I am expecting a certain answer to, and it's kind of like a pass or fail. If I'm like, hey, my client really likes to talk on the phone, what's your preferred method? And if they're like, I only email or text, then I'm going to say, this isn't going to work for my grandma client.
Yeah.
She's a phone caller. So just trying to ask the questions on how are you going to serve my client, because I know my client, I know what they're going to want. And if you can't provide that, then you're not going to be the best fit. And I've had one time where I did not pick the best referral person for my client, and it still haunts me. I hate it. Like, it was just not a good transaction for them. They still love me. Like, surprisingly, I'm like, please, oh my
You're
gosh.
way better than that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah, if you want to boost your ego, send them to a terrible agent. But no, I felt awful, and it was just not what the white glove experience that I try to provide, and I felt really bad about it.
Well, I think that's why it's important to be connected through the process, connected with your client and with it. Now, I've had overbearing agents who have been part of the transaction, like way more than they should have been. So there's a balance. I recently had a buyer come back to me and call me in the middle of a transaction, panicked. And he was like, I think I'm getting screwed. And I'm like, perfect. By the agent I sent you to, this is going to be good. But what I heard him say, like through the transaction, or through the conversation, I was like, so tell me what's going on. And really, when it broke down to it, he was not being screwed, but he was not being communicated with at a high level. And that turned him into questioning everything, because he was like, this sounds fishy. This doesn't, because he wasn't hearing anything. And so through that transaction, as I'm checking in with the agent, I'm doing the same thing. Like, hey, Smith family, how's it going? Can I answer any questions? Things are so different from state to state, but I'm still here for you if you need a shoulder to lean on. Through that, I was able to say, okay, what I'm hearing you say is she's not communicating enough. Not that you're actually getting screwed. Hey, that actually kind of sounds right, but we need to go back to Mrs. Agent. And I was able to go back to the agent and be like, you got to pick it up. Like, you got to pick up the conversation. He's questioning stuff, which is not good for your reputation, not good for my reputation. And I think that really it's just going to be solved by like doubling back on the amount of phone calls that you have, answering his questions, making sure no loose end is left out there for him to be wondering, am I getting screwed through this process? So through the transaction, I think, yeah, you hand it off and yeah, cool, it's easy, mailbox money, etc. But it doesn't change the actual follow-up that needs to happen through that process.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than a client coming back to you and being like, who did you send me to? Why does this person not doing their, I mean, it's happened to me one time and I'm like,
It's happened to me when
I
you're like, one time, I'm like, dang, your track record is
well,
good.
I feel awful about it and I'm like, I will never make that mistake again. Maybe I didn't
But
ask the right questions, or maybe she was just really good at faking it.
I think that the thing is like, you just really don't know. And I think about yourself. Like, I think that there's very many sides to Ashley. There's very many sides to Tiffany. And I don't wake up on the right side of the bed every morning, but I don't wake up the same person ready to go to work at like 150% every single day. So there's some off days, etc. But I also, to avoid this, because I've had way more than one time where it's like, holy smokes, my radar was completely
Well,
off.
let's
And I
say
assigned that.
I had one off that actually told me.
Okay.
So maybe the other people were like, it's great.
See, I got really, I got really loud and cranky,
Oh.
cranky, comfortable people. But that is true. Like, are they going to tell you? But I give them permission for them to tell me, like, hey, if this is not a right fit, I have a bunch more options. I felt like thinking about your style of communication, the areas that you're looking at, their expertise, etc. I felt like this was the best fit. But if your radar is not on the same, I have more people that I can be connecting you with. So give them permission to be like, hey, I want to hear if it's not working.
Mhm.
Not to say that they always will. People communicate at different levels. Some like to complain and not actually communicate. So be thinking about it that way too. Like, give them permission to say, this was not a right fit, obviously before the transaction gets rolling, but tell them they need to be interviewing them too. This is not a shoe-in interview, just like a lender, just like a home inspector, etc. Interview, and if it's not the right fit, let's try to find something that works better for you.
Well, I always tell my clients too, let me know how Tiffany did, because if she did a great job, I'm going to send more clients to her.
Mm-hmm.
If she didn't, like, I'm never referring anyone to that agent again,
Yeah.
So, and it's a agent somewhere that I have clients going to regularly. There's a military base there.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I think right now, especially with the way that agents are having to work harder and smarter and just differently than we ever have, don't assume that the same person you sent over the years is still the right fit. So that was going to be kind of my closing, um, buttoning everything together. Don't assume that your 20-year-old referral list is the right choice for right now. I think people are more exhausted than they ever been. They're burnout than they've ever been, etc. So you need those people that are going to match your energy, match the experience. And that's okay that it's different people over time. So it's not a set it and forget it list. You should be combing through that, having conversations, connecting with those people, even when you don't have referrals to be handed to them. um, it's really going to be a machine that you have to be working part of your full marketing plan
yeah.
throughout the year.
I like that you said going through your list, because, like, what if they're not in business anymore?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
You're like, go to Joe, and Joe retired and says, sitting at the beach, living the best life.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
I mean, making sure that your list is up to date, making sure those people are still licensed and actively working, those are huge, important parts. The other thing, too, is if you don't want to make the calls randomly, talk to somebody in your office. Hey, do you have someone in Colorado? Do you have someone in Georgia that you've worked with successfully? And then do the interview from there, because you're asking a trusted person at your office for their opinion. And I think that holds a lot of weight in choosing someone.
Yeah, I think so too. It doesn't, you're not going in blindly with
Yeah.
that too. The same token with that too, I do know people who will choose to only partner with someone that's committed to partnering with them. I think that's kind of a big term goal. You've got to have enough business flowing to expect it to be coming back. But on the note that Ashley just said, where you're like, hey, use other people that have used people in the office. Well, if those people are already connected, that business is not going to come back. But for me, when I'm looking at that, I'm not looking for an exclusive anything. I want to be able to prove myself and the value of working with me, just like they should be doing for me as well. So kind of breaking down that kind of misconception too, where it's like, I can only give business if I'm going to get it. Well, you got to earn it. You got to, the marketing, the quarterly check, and all of those things that you're doing, just like you're earning it from your clients. Who cares? They've done business with you before. Well, you still have to show up and you still have to show value. You still have to earn their business. And I think it's the same thing with the referrals. So don't be afraid of oh, they're only passing, business back and forth, Troy to this agent back and forth. I don't want to check with anyone in my office. I think that's kind of a smaller mindset that you got to break through to be saying, the same way with your clients. They're being talked to by more than one agent.
Yeah.
For sure.
And to find out if they do have a referral partner, like exclusiveness, just ask them, hey, who's your referral partner in Tennessee? Would you mind if I send you referrals? Oh, you don't have one? Just kind of building that. But it's okay to ask. Don't be afraid to ask questions to agents. I mean, it's your business. It's not, making that connection. So,
yep, absolutely. Well, that wraps it up. I think we have pinned up enough conversation with you guys to really get started on how to create a active and lucrative referral network. And I think that's all we have today.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, we'll see you next time. Today was a really constructive conversation about thinking outside of the box, building a referral network, not just throwing, referrals willy-nilly all over the place. And I think that we had a ton of really great takeaways. Ashley, what would you say would be the number one thing that you're thinking of taking away from today?
I just love the migration map. Like, I love
nerd.
I know I am. I like the data because I'm not going to be wasting marketing, sending it to, like Wyoming. Nobody's moving here from Wyoming. So I'm not going to spend my marketing dollars and my time and energy. I have a focused plan. I know exactly where people are moving from. Why not market to those agents who have those clients? I mean, it makes sense for me. So I just did this a couple months ago, but I am probably due for another follow-up. So that's my takeaway. I'm going to go back and see who I sent the original referral cards to and send my next follow-up, probably since the month is coming up and end, probably just do like a market update.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on the note of follow-up, when you're placing referrals, when you're sending those outbound referrals, following up through that transaction, like that's my big takeaway, making sure that there's quality in that relationship that's happening, giving your buyer or seller an out to say, hey, if it's not the right fit when you interview, please still come back to me. Don't let that referral be lost. If they sit across the table from Mr. Smith Realtor and he's like a complete flop in person. But that follow-up and staying consistent in that conversation is just like you would be doing if they were here, in your market doing a transaction. So the follow-up for me was the biggest takeaway today.
All right, guys. Well, if you like this episode, make sure you give it a 5-star review and download it. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can find us everywhere on social. We would love for you guys to comment where your market is, and let's build our own real estateable referral market.
Let's do it.
All right, we'll see you next time.